What if the pennies hiding in your old coin jar are worth far more than 1 cent? Most people ignore wheat pennies every day without realizing that some of these ordinary-looking coins have sold for hundreds, thousands, and in rare cases, even life-changing money. From the historic 1944 wartime penny to the post-war 1946 issue to overlooked 1953 treasures. All the way to the legendary final year 1958 wheat penny, these 4 Lincoln cents could hold surprising value if you know what to look for. So before you spend another old penny, watch this first, because one tiny coin in your pocket could be the hidden treasure everyone else missed. Have you ever looked at a penny and wondered if it might secretly be worth thousands of dollars? Because if you own a 1944 wheat penny, you may be holding one of the most fascinating coins in American history. At first glance, the 1944 wheat penny looks like an ordinary 1-cent coin. It features Abraham Lincoln on the front and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, nothing unusual to the average person. Millions of Americans have handled these coins without giving them a second thought. But here, what many people don't realize. Some 1944 pennies are worth far more than 1 cent. In fact, certain rare versions of the 1944 wheat penny have sold for thousands, and in extraordinary cases, even over $100,000. So what makes one 1944 penny nearly worthless and another worth a small fortune? Let's break it down. First, you need to understand why the 1944 penny is so special in U.S. coin history. During World War II, copper was considered a critical war material. The United States needed copper for military equipment, ammunition, and communications wiring. So in 1943, the U.S. Mint made a dramatic decision. Instead of striking pennies in copper, they produced them in zinc-coated steel. That's why 1943 steel pennies exist. But in 1944, the Mint switched back to copper. They used recycled shell casings from wartime ammunition to create many of the 1944 pennies. That means your 1944 wheat penny may literally contain metal from World War II battlefield supplies. That alone makes the coin historically fascinating. However, what really excites collectors is a rare minting mistake that occurred during this transition. A few leftover steel planchets from 1943 accidentally remained in the minting presses. And when those steel blanks were struck with 1944 penny dies, the legendary 1944 steel wheat penny was born. These coins are among the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cents ever made. Because the vast majority of 1944 pennies should be copper. So if you find a 1944 penny that sticks to a magnet, stop everything. It could be one of the rarest pennies in existence. Authentic 1944 steel pennies have sold for tens of thousands of dollars, and some top-grade examples have reached 6 figures at auction. Now, before you get too excited, remember this. Many fake 1944 steel pennies exist. Some people alter 1943 steel pennies by changing the date from 1943 to 1944. Others plate regular 1944 copper pennies to make them appear silver. So if your 1944 penny looks silver-colored or sticks to a magnet, professional authentication is essential. But even if your coin is the normal copper version, it can still have collector value. The standard 1944 wheat penny was minted in huge numbers at 3 U.S. mint locations. Philadelphia with no mint mark. Denver with its D mint mark. San Francisco with an S mint mark. Philadelphia struck over 1.4 billion 1944 pennies. Denver minted more than 430 million. San Francisco produced around 282 million. Because so many were made, most circulated examples are common. A worn 1944 wheat penny typically sells for a few cents to maybe $1, depending on condition. But condition changes everything. Collectors use grading scales to determine value. A heavily worn coin with scratches and discoloration may be worth very little. But a bright, red, uncirculated 1944 penny with no wear can sell for dramatically more. Mint state examples with original red luster are highly sought after. Some top-condition 1944 pennies have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars simply because they survived in pristine condition. Then there are era coins. Collectors love mint eras because they make coins unique. For 1944 wheat pennies, watch for double-die eras where the lettering or date appears doubled. Off-center strikes where the design is not properly centered. Clipped planchets where part of the coin is missing due to an improperly cut blank. Die cracks and cut errors caused by damaged dies during minting. Any of these can increase value significantly. Another important factor is color. Copper coins are often classified into 3 color categories: brown, red-brown, and red. Red coins retain their original mint luster and command the highest prices. Brown coins have oxidized over time and are usually less valuable. So if you have a bright red 1944 wheat penny in excellent condition, collectors may pay a premium. Now here's how you can test your 1944 penny at home. Step 1. Use a magnet. If it sticks, that's highly unusual and potentially valuable. Step 2. Weigh the coin. A normal copper 1944 penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. A steel penny should weigh around 2.7 grams. Step 3. Examine the date closely under magnification. Look for signs of tampering or altered numbers. Step 4. Inspect for doubling, strike errors, or unusual surfaces. And if anything seems unusual, have it professionally graded. Because a genuine rare 1944 steel cent or major era coin could be worth far more than most people imagine. What makes the 1944 wheat penny so exciting is that it combines history, rarity, and treasure hunt appeal. It's not just a coin. It's a relic of World War II. It's a piece of American industrial history. And for a lucky few, it can also be a jackpot hiding in plain sight. That's why collectors constantly search old jars, inherited collections, and estate sales for 1944 pennies. Because even after decades, rare examples are still being discovered. So if you have one, don't spend it. Check it carefully. Use a magnet. Look for errors. Inspect the mint mark. And pay close attention to condition. Because while many 1944 wheat pennies are worth only a few cents, the right one could change everything. And that's exactly what makes coin collecting so addictive. You never know when an ordinary-looking penny might turn out to be extraordinary. So the next time you see a 1944 wheat penny, take a second look. It might be more than pocket change. It might be treasure. What if a penny from the very first year after World War II could be hiding surprising collector value in your coin jar? That's exactly why the 1946 wheat penny has become one of the most searched Lincoln cents among collectors and treasure hunters. At first glance, the 1946 wheat penny may look like nothing more than an old copper penny. It carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, with the classic wheat ears reverse design on the back, a design used on U.S. cents from 1909 through 1958. But behind this ordinary appearance lies a coin connected to one of the most important turning points in modern American history. The year 1946 marked America's first full year of peace after World War II. The war had ended. Factories were shifting away from military production. Soldiers were returning home, and the nation was beginning a new era of rebuilding and prosperity. That means every 1946 wheat penny was struck during a historic transition period in the United States. For many collectors, that historical significance alone makes the coin worth saving. But the real question most people ask is, can a 1946 wheat penny actually be valuable? The answer is yes, but only under the right circumstances. Most 1946 wheat pennies are common. Millions were minted across 3 U.S. mint facilities. Philadelphia produced over 991 million with no mint mark. Denver struck over 315 million with a D mint mark. San Francisco minted more than 198 million with an S mint mark. Because nearly 1.5 billion were made in total, worn circulated examples are generally inexpensive. A typical 1946 wheat penny in average circulated condition may be worth only a few cents to perhaps $1, depending on demand and eye appeal. However, certain 1946 pennies are worth much more than others. And it all comes down to rarity, condition, and mint errors. Let's start with condition. Coin collectors use grading scales to judge preservation. A heavily worn 1946 penny with scratches, discoloration, and flattened details may bring very little premium. But a sharply struck, uncirculated coin with original mint luster can be dramatically more valuable. If that coin still retains bright, original red color from the mint, its value can jump even higher. Copper coins are often graded by color: brown, red-brown, and red. Red examples are the most desirable because they show minimal oxidation and better preservation. Some pristine 1946 red cents have sold for hundreds of dollars. And in top certified grades, exceptional examples can reach into the thousands. Now let's talk about the errors. This is where things get exciting. Error coins are mistakes made during the minting process. Because they are unusual and often scarce, collectors love them. For the 1946 wheat penny, some of the most desirable errors include double die varieties. This happens when the die strikes the design more than once at slightly different angles, causing visible doubling in the date or lettering. Look closely at the words Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. If the letters appear doubled or shadowed, your coin may be worth much more. Next are off-center strikes. These happen when the coin blank is not properly aligned during striking. The result is a design shifted off-center, leaving part of the blank visible. Depending on severity, these errors can be highly collectible. Then there are clipped planchet errors. This occurs when the coin blank is improperly cut, leaving a curved missing section on the coin. Another possibility is repunched mint marks. On some coins, the mint mark was punched into the die more than once, creating visible doubling or overlapping of the mint mark. Collectors actively search for RPMs on older wheat pennies. Die cracks and cuds are also popular. These happen when the die begins to break down, leaving raised cracks or blobs on the coin. While minor die cracks add only modest value, dramatic examples can attract strong collector interest. Another reason people love the 1946 wheat penny is affordability. Unlike ultra-rare key dates that cost hundreds or thousands just to own, the 1946 penny is still accessible. That makes it a favorite for beginner collectors building Lincoln cent sets. It offers historical significance, age, and collecting potential without requiring a huge budget. But here's something many people overlook. Even common-date wheat pennies can become valuable if found in original rolls or old collections untouched for decades. Why? Because most pennies from this era circulated heavily. Finding one in untouched mint condition today is much harder than finding a worn example. That scarcity of high-grade survivors drives prices upward. So if you inherit a jar of old pennies and find a bright, sharply detailed 1946 wheat penny, don't assume it's common. Its condition may be what makes it valuable. Now here's how to check your 1946 wheat penny at home. First, inspect the mint mark. No mint mark means Philadelphia. A D means Denver. An S means San Francisco. Second, look under magnification for doubling in the date and lettering. Third, examine the strike. Is the design unusually off-center or distorted? Fourth, inspect the surface for die cracks or unusual raised lines. Fifth, check color and luster. Does it still appear bright red or original? And finally, handle it carefully. Never clean old coins. Cleaning can destroy collector value instantly. Even gentle polishing can leave hairline scratches that reduce value dramatically. Collectors prefer original surfaces, even if toned or slightly dirty, over cleaned examples. The 1946 wheat penny may not be the rarest Lincoln cent ever minted, but it remains one of the most historically meaningful post-war U.S. coins. It represents America stepping into a new era. It marks the beginning of peacetime after one of the most significant conflicts in world history. And for collectors, it offers the perfect mix of history, affordability, and the possibility of hidden value. So if you find a 1946 wheat penny, take a closer look before tossing it aside. Because while many are common, the right mint era, the right condition, or the right variety could make yours worth far more than 1 cent. And that's the thrill of coin collecting. Sometimes history and hidden value are sitting in the palm of your hand. Could a penny from the 1950s be worth far more than its face value? Most people would never expect an ordinary-looking coin from 1953 to attract serious collector attention. But the truth is, some 1953 wheat pennies are worth much more than 1 cent, and a few rare examples can bring surprisingly high prices. That's why collectors still search rolls, jars, and inherited coin collections for this overlooked Lincoln cent. At first glance, the 1953 wheat penny looks familiar and simple. It features Abraham Lincoln on the front and the classic wheat ears design on the reverse, the same iconic design used on U.S. cents from 1909 until 1958. Because the wheat penny design remained consistent for decades, many people ignore these coins without realizing they may hold collectible value. So what makes the 1953 wheat penny worth saving? To answer that, we need to look at its place in American history. The year 1953 was part of a major transitional era in the United States. America was entering the height of the post-war economic boom. Suburban neighborhoods were expanding. Television ownership was exploding. The Korean War had just ended. And Dwight D. Eisenhower had recently become President of the United States. Every 1953 wheat penny was struck during this important period of American growth and change. That historical backdrop gives the coin added appeal to collectors. But history alone does not determine value. The true worth of a 1953 wheat penny depends on 3 major factors: mint mark, condition, and errors. Let's begin with mint marks. The U.S. Mint produced 1953 wheat pennies at 3 facilities. Philadelphia struck coins with no mint mark. Denver produced coins marked with a D. San Francisco produced coins marked with an S. Philadelphia made over $256 million. Denver struck more than 700 million. San Francisco minted over 181 million. Because so many were made, most circulated 1953 wheat pennies remain common. A worn example usually sells for only a few cents above face value. But that changes quickly if the coin is in exceptional condition. High-grade 1953 pennies are much scarcer than many people think. Why? Because pennies were heavily used in circulation. Most were spent, damaged, scratched, or oxidized over time. That means pristine examples with sharp detail and original mint luster are far harder to find today. Collectors place a premium on coins graded mint state. And if the coin still has full original red color, its value can rise significantly. Copper coins are generally categorized by color: brown, red-brown, and red. Red examples are the most valuable because they retain their original fresh-minted appearance. A bright red 1953 wheat penny in top-certified condition can sell for hundreds of dollars. Exceptional registry-grade examples can sell for even more. Now let's talk about the real treasure hunt factor: mint errors. Errors can transform an otherwise common 1953 penny into a highly collectible coin. One of the most sought after is the double die error. This occurs when the design is impressed onto the die more than once at slightly different positions. The result is visible doubling on the finished coin. Check the date. Check Liberty. Check In God We Trust. If the letters or numbers appear doubled, that could indicate a valuable variety. Another major category is repunched mint marks. In the 1950s, mint marks were punched into dies by hand. Sometimes the punch was applied more than once. If slightly misaligned, the result was overlapping mint marks. Collectors pay strong premiums for dramatic RPM varieties. Then there are off-center strikes. These happen when the blank is not aligned properly in the press. A visibly off-center 1953 penny can be worth many times normal value, depending on how dramatic the error is. Clipped planchets are another collectible error. These appear when the blank was cut improperly, leaving part of the coin missing in a curved shape. Die cracks and cuds can also add value. These occur when damaged dies transfer raised lines or blobs onto the coin. Though often minor, dramatic examples can interest collectors. One especially important fact about 1953 wheat pennies: Denver minted the largest number that year. So the 1953D is extremely common in circulated grades. But despite that, top-condition examples remain collectible because truly flawless red coins are scarce. That means even common-date pennies can be valuable when condition is exceptional. Now here's how to inspect your 1953 wheat penny. Step 1. Find the mint mark below the date. No mint mark means Philadelphia. D means Denver. S means San Francisco. Step 2. Use magnification to inspect the lettering and date for doubling. Step 3. Look for unusual strike alignment or shape. Step 4. Check for die cracks, raised blobs, or clipped edges. Step 5. Evaluate color. Is the coin dull brown? Or does it retain bright, red original luster? And most importantly, do not clean it. Cleaning old coins can destroy much of their value. Collectors strongly prefer natural surfaces. A cleaned coin may lose substantial premium, even if rare. The 1953 wheat penny is a great reminder that value is not always obvious. A coin doesn't need to be over 100 years old to matter. It doesn't need to be made of silver or gold. Sometimes a simple copper penny can carry surprising collector demand because of condition, rarity, or minting mistakes. And because millions of people overlook wheat pennies every year. Valuable examples still turn up in collections, estate boxes, and old piggy banks. That's why coin hunters never stop checking. Because one small detail can make all the difference. So if you own a 1953 wheat penny, don't assume it's just pocket change. Look closely. Inspect the mint mark. Study the surfaces. Search for errors. And pay attention to color and condition. Because while many 1953 wheat pennies are worth only a few cents, the right one in the right condition could be worth far more than most people imagine. And that possibility is exactly what keeps collectors searching through old pennies every single day. What if one of the last wheat pennies ever made could secretly be worth a fortune? Most people see a 1958 wheat penny and assume it's just another old copper cent. But collectors know this coin is far more important than it first appears. Because the 1958 wheat penny marks the end of an era in American coinage. It was the final year the United States Mint produced the famous wheat penny design, a design that had appeared on American cents since 1909. That means every 1958 wheat penny represents the closing chapter of nearly half a century of U.S. coin history. And because of one legendary rare variety, some 1958 wheat pennies are among the most valuable Lincoln cents ever discovered. Let's start with the history. The Lincoln wheat penny debuted in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real historical person. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin became one of the most iconic pieces of American currency ever created. For nearly 50 years, Americans used wheat pennies in everyday life. Then, in 1959, the reverse design changed to the Lincoln Memorial. That makes 1958 the final wheat penny ever released for circulation. Because of that, many collectors save 1958 pennies simply for historical significance. But while most are common, one extremely rare version has made the 1958 wheat penny legendary. It's called the 1958 double die obverse, and it is one of the rarest and most famous Lincoln cent varieties in existence. On this coin, the date and lettering on the front show dramatic visible doubling. The doubling is so strong that it can often be seen with the naked eye. Liberty appears doubled. In God we trust appears doubled. The date appears doubled. Only a tiny number of authentic examples are known. Because of this extreme rarity, genuine 1958 double die obverse pennies have sold for tens of thousands, and in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That makes it one of the ultimate dream finds for penny collectors. So if you have a 1958 wheat penny, check it carefully. Because even though the double die is rare, the reward for finding one is enormous. Now let's talk about normal 1958 wheat pennies. The U.S. Mint produced them at two locations. Philadelphia with no mint mark. Denver with its D mint mark. Philadelphia struck over 252 million. Denver produced over 800 million. Because of those huge mintages, most circulated examples are common. A worn 1958 wheat penny usually carries modest value, often just a few cents to around $1, depending on condition. But condition can change everything. Since 1958 was the final year of the wheat penny series, many people saved examples when they were released. That means more uncirculated coins survive compared to some earlier dates. However, Top-tier gem examples are still valuable. Collectors pay premiums for coins with strong strike quality, full original luster, no wear, minimal marks, and bright red original surfaces. As with other copper coins, color matters significantly. Brown coins are usually worth less. Red-brown coins bring more. Red coins command the highest premiums. A flawless red 1958 wheat penny graded at the highest levels can sell for hundreds or even thousands, depending on certification and market demand. Beyond the famous double die, there are other collectible errors to watch for. These include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, cud errors, repunched mint marks, and strike-through errors where foreign material interfered during striking. Any of these can increase value depending on severity. Now here's how to check your 1958 wheat penny for the valuable double die. Step 1. Use magnification or a jeweler's loupe. Step 2. Inspect the front of the coin closely. Pay special attention to the date, liberty, and in God we trust. Step 3. Look for strong, clear doubling, not machine doubling or blurry damage. True double dies show separated design elements created during die production. If your coin appears to have dramatic doubling, do not clean it. Do not alter it. Have it authenticated by a professional grading service immediately. Because if genuine, it could be one of the most valuable pennies in your entire collection. Even if your 1958 penny is not the double die, it still has collector appeal. Why? Because it is the last wheat penny ever issued. That gives it sentimental and historical importance. Many collectors build complete wheat penny sets, and 1958 is always the final coin in that run. Its role as the ending date of the series ensures lasting demand. The 1958 wheat penny proves that a coin doesn't need to be ancient to matter. Sometimes importance comes from timing. Sometimes it comes from rarity. And sometimes it comes from one extraordinary minting mistake that changes everything. So before you ignore that 1958 penny in your collection, take a closer look. Because while most are common, one rare doubled die version could be worth more than a new car. And that possibility is what makes coin collecting so exciting. Treasure can hide in the smallest places, even in a penny.